Hi, in this video I'll be covering how to extract or parse JSON data with Power Query. Did you know Power Query can talk JSON? Well, no, they don't actually talk to each other, but if you're trying to pull those name value pairs in JSON from a text file or a log file to put in your spreadsheet, you don't need to write some Python script to do this. And hopefully you are thinking twice about putting your company's data in one of those free services on the internet, right? Well, use Power Query instead because it's actually pretty easy. Let's check it out. So I'm going to cover 4 examples here, and the first is going to be probably the most easiest. It's going to be some name value pairs. Go to data, go get data from file, and I'm going to get it from a JSON file. Here's my file, open it, and it's going to open it up in the Power Query editor, and I'm going to transform that file. So let's go and see what we need to do. It's really pretty easy. It's going to come up as a list, and we're going to turn that list into a table. Click table, because we've got a bunch of records in there. Accept the defaults here, click OK, and you can see that it's turned into a table. We've got our records here. You can see I've got my records here. And all I need to do is expand it. I'll keep this checked. If I want to change the column names, I'll change it later. Click OK. And now I've got my name value pairs, right? I can change my name, first name, last name, email, gender, address. Click close and load. By default, it will load into the worksheet. And I've got my worksheet with the data. So let's go to my second example. The second example is going to be a simple JSON file. But now I've got an option to change and put some of the name value pairs in either separate rows or in one column as CSV or comma separated values. I'm going to data again, go get data, file from JSON file. I have my file here, double click, and it's going to bring up the Power Query editor again. And this is where we've got a little bit of playing around to do with the transformation. We can see that there is a list here. So what I'm going to do is turn this into a table. And since I know that this is just one record, these are our column heading. So we need to transpose this. Go to transform, transpose. We have it over here. Want to make this the first row as the headers. On the transform, click first row as headers. And now that's the first row as headers. We still need to expand this list. So I'll click the expanding button here. We're going to expand that to new rows. And you can see each of these is a record. And so I can expand this again and click OK. And we've got our rows here. So this molecule man, the secret identity is Dan Jukes, and we have some powers, a list of powers. We have these 3 for him, we've got these 3 for Madam Uppercut, and we can also expand this list. Now here's where I mentioned we can do it into separate rows or into comma separate lists. So let's say, for example, we want to do new rows. We're going to have new rows, and here we've got Dan Jukes mentioned 3 times because he's got separate powers here. So that's one way we can do it. Another way we can do it is turn it into one column, and that would be comma separated values for these 3 attributes. So I'll delete that step. And here, instead of expanding to new rows, we're going to extract the values. And then when we extract the values, what we can do is have a comma separate them. Click OK. And now we've got that comma separating them for that particular row. Click home, close and load. So you can see here, we just have our 3 rows for the 3 records, Molecule Man, Madam, Uppercut, and Eternal Flame. And in this column, we have their powers as CSV, comma separate values. Let's get to our third example, our nested joins. So go to data, get data from file, from JSON. Let's bring up a little bit more of a complex JSON example. Not too complex, but a little bit more complex than the other 2 that I've shown. And this one has some nested joins. So we have our records in the list. I'm going to turn this into a table too. We see that it's a record, but we're going to turn this into a table. And we're doing the same thing as we did in our last example. We're going to transpose this, go to transform, transpose. We've got our column. We got the first record here that needs to be a header. Click use first row as headers. So what we need to do is we're going to expand the list first. So wherever we have a list, we're going to expand that first. And those are going to be expanded into new rows. And that has records. So now I can start to expand the records. So I will click expand. I'll go ahead and keep that, click OK, and then expand that one into new rows. And we've got new records. Let's expand that one, click OK. We've got our batter types here. And in this column, these are records, and we can expand these 2. Click OK, and we've expanded them into its own record. And to make this a little bit more viewable, I guess, what we can do is we can sort them, right? Sort ascending here. We got all batter starting at 1,000 here, and we're going to sort this one topping ID ascending. So you can see like all the regular cakes here, they've got the different topping types. We've got the chocolate cakes here. They've got the same topping types. And so this is a way that you can probably bring that data in into a table, and we can bring it back into Excel, go close and load, and it'll bring it in as a table into Excel where we can do some further analysis on that JSON data. So that was the one with the nested join. Now, what if we had log files that had a column that is in JSON format? You might think you need to split this data based on the commas and then do some transpose, but it's really pretty simple with Power Query. So what we need to do is go to data, go get data. It's in a file, so I'll go get from Excel workbook. It's a log file, so it could be a CSV file. Here I put it as an Excel file, but you can see when I bring it up, you can see it's just a two-column table, one with the ID and the other one with the log information in the JSON format. I'm going to transform this data first. What I need to do is just bring this into Power Query editor, and it's going to come up. And we see Power Query has brought it in as a table. We need to make the first row as headers. You can see I don't need to be in the transform. I can actually be in home. There is a use first row as headers here. Click that, and it's bringing it up there. And you may think, oh, do I need to split this out and then do some more transpose? No, you can just click the header, right click, and this transform, there is a JSON entry here. Click that, and it's going to turn it into a list. I'm going to expand that list, and let's expand it into new rows. And it turns into a record. Expand it again, click OK. And now we have our JSON data spread out. We've got our timestamp, our ID, class, and event. Click close and load. It's going to put that into a new worksheet here. And we've got our table of our log file that was in a JSON format. So those are your 4 examples of how we can extract or parse JSON data with Power Query. See, you can make Excel talk to JSON. It's just with the handy dandy Power Query feature. And I gave you examples to try from, so you have no excuse to use one of those sketchy internet forms to put your company's sensitive data. Or you can always learn Python or some scripting language. To see more videos like this, click the banner at the end. Still here? I got a joke for you. How does a train eat? It goes choo, choo, choo.